Hello, and welcome to Paranormal, more normal than we think. Today we are joined with John. John's got one good experience he's going to talk to us about, and we're going to get wrapped up into conversation like we always do. Unfortunately, Cody could not join us today, so it'll just be me. But hey, y'all love me. Right? Right? Anyways, John, what you got for us?
Well, my name is John. I was born in 1964. That makes me a little bit older than some of the people who may be watching this. Grew up before remote control, if that's any help.
My goodness, that's a while ago.
Yeah, my sighting was a while ago as well. It was about 40 years ago. It was best I can recollect in 1980. And I was around 15 years old. Um, my father had grabbed me, of course, being that age and old enough to do some work. We went to fish some catfish lines in a river down about an hour from the house. Left my little brother at the house. He was 2 years younger, so he couldn't go. But anyway, catfishing, and somewhere around 2 in the morning, we saw something. And the memory is weird, and the sighting is weird, and everything about it's weird. But I hear that's normal for someone who experiences these type of things.
Absolutely.
Uh,
From me being an interviewer who's interviewed people, that's had these sightings, they're very peculiar.
oh yeah, yeah. In any case, about what we saw was around 150 to 150 yards away. It was just across the river, and it was at treetop height. What my father saw and what I saw were slightly different, and I hear that's normal too. That
That's
two people seeing the same thing may see things a little bit differently,
Yes, I've
and
heard
that's
that too, but that is very interesting. I definitely want you to elaborate on that.
well, my memory's not that clear. What I saw was illuminated from within. Um, Colors of lights, I got no recollection of. It seems to my memory today to be whitish, but I don't know. Um,
Like a
what
soft
I
white.
mm, like something illuminated from within, something that was transparent. Say,
Ah,
if it were not a light bulb, but it was a light bulb behind two panes of glass, but a very
gotcha.
bright light bulb. But that may be just my memory because memory's a little bit flexible with these things from the way I understand things to work now.
Right.
Um, my father saw a craft that he saw multiple windows and occupants. I saw a craft. Now, this is a made thing. This was not an orb or spiritual entity or something fuzzy. What I saw was a made thing. It was a craft. It was a vehicle,
Like
and it was intelligently controlled.
like nuts and bolts vehicle.
I don't know. The thing moved without noise. There was no prop wash. There was no noise, and it just was there. And it was like it was naturally there. We didn't experience any fear. We didn't experience any sense of wonder. It was just slight confusion, and not even really confusion. It was just like, huh, well, that's funny. And it moved up the river and out of sight. And we continued with our fishing trip and pulling the lines. And when we got home, we told my brother and my mother that we think we saw a UFO. And it looked kind of like a triangle.
So it looked like a triangle. You said it was illuminated from within. Was there
It looked
any
it
light?
looked kind of like a triangle. What I now think it was more of a pyramid shape.
Oh, that's interesting.
In other words, the triangle is seen from a side. From any side of a pyramid, it appears as a triangle.
Right.
And if it is a three-sided pyramid, then the bottom, looking at it from below, would appear to be a triangle. From the side, looking at it from, say, one quarter, would appear to be a triangle. And from behind, it would also appear to be a triangle. And if it turned, it would look funky. The angles wouldn't make a lot of sense to a human because that's not something that we see floating around.
Right. It would kind of look like a CGI almost in the sky.
Well, there were some triangle type craft that was released recently. It was one of those leak videos where it showed them around an aircraft carrier and they were blinking,
Yes.
you know.
The ones that the
But
Pentagon released, right?
right, the blinking was not. I don't believe that was from that craft. It may have been, but there's blinking lights all over those aircraft carrier to direct airplanes and whatnot. Right, safety stuff.
Right.
So if the craft are floating around that thing were blinking, they could have been blinking in response to, or it could have been a reflection of lights that the ship was blinking. So they have to be lit up for safety reasons.
Right.
I mean, people moving around on deck.
What I want to know, so on that video, you know what video, because, I mean, you mentioned it. So when you look at it, it's looking through a circle. I cannot recall, why is it looking through a circle instead of just a... Go ahead.
There are other people who explain that better than I. I never got into that part of the military. My brother did a bit, and all that stuff. They're all instruments designed for specific purposes.
Okay.
And the purpose of that instrument may be to see an incoming missile. So to see an incoming missile, such an instrument may not need to be very, very, pretty. It might not need to take a good photographic picture where a human can understand it.
It just needs to know a missile's coming.
It needs to have that data transmitted in the most efficient way possible to human beings who can then react how they should react. So that instrument's going to be different.
Right. Okay.
It's not like a megapixel camera.
Yes. Yeah. Right. I mean, there's no point. Why would you want to see your death coming in at 4K?
Well, I mean, that's noise. Why would you want to render 4K when all you need is the 3 pixels of the incoming missile?
Exactly.
You don't need all that noise, and you're just wasting time trying to figure that out.
Yep, I agree. Well, is that all? Is that all you saw of your experience? Did the craft just take off, or did y'all just leave fishing and leave the craft where it was?
Moved up the river and out of sight.
It did.
It moved off.
Did it do it slowly, or how was the approach?
It appeared to move just slowly and calmly, just moved up and up the river. It didn't move very fast. It wasn't as fast as a boat can move. And it moved and I think it was upriver. I'm not sure. It could have been downriver, but I want to think it was upriver, but I don't know.
Now this was in Georgia, right?
It's in South Georgia. It's on what we call the Big Satilla River or the Satilla River, down close to St. Mary's, if my memory serves.
And then give me one more time the date. You said it was in the 80s, right?
It was in 1980. The best I can recall. I've tried to timeline this out, going back through my life, and 1980 is the year that it happened as far as I remember.
Right, and it'd be difficult for you to tell.
Well, I had a learner's permit, okay?
Oh.
I was 15 years old. I had a learner's permit, and that is one reason my father grabbed me to drive, because he has one eye. He lost his other eye in Korea, and he needs some help driving sometimes at night. So that's when it was.
I got you. Well, I want to take this time, since you brought that up. I have a lot of family members that have been in Vietnam, Iraq, and all this other stuff, and I just wanted to take this time to thank you for your service and your contribution to this country, because he was a Marine, everybody, and so I appreciate what you've done for this country. I really do. That takes some balls.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're absolutely welcome. That takes some dedication, some time, and it is a whole lifestyle. So thank you.
I have different views on that. As one who just spent only a few years in the military, I'm one of those peacetime guys. I didn't see conflict. I'm really grateful for that. And I'm grateful for all the boys who went over there and did that. But there's a difference between a peacetime Marine and somebody who served in combat. And I'm one of those peacetime dudes.
You're right, but don't...
My respect goes to the men and women who've been out there on the line and who've done the job and come home. or left pieces of them over there, like my father did.
Absolutely.
Um, so yeah, I understand where you're coming from, my friend, and I will take your compliment, not for myself, but for those who have served better than I.
How about this? We can debate this all day, but I do want to say this one thing. If you
Okay,
were called to action, you would have answered that call. So you
I'll
deserve
answer it
it.
now. I'll
See?
answer it now, man.
See? You deserve that praise. You would lose a limb. If you had to defend this country, you would lose a limb. You would lose your life.
But I'm not alone, brother. That's the
No,
thing.
no,
That's
absolutely
the
not.
thing. See, that's the thing that the aliens understand. We are hard to control.
Yes, yes. I had an interview. Unfortunately, listeners, I had an interview with AJ. I did the follow up interview, and my dumb tail got a new mic, and I didn't have it hooked up correctly, so I lost that interview. I have to redo it. But one of the things we were talking about was that we don't think that the aliens, the ETs, whatever you want to call them, will come here, reveal themselves fully until we can control ourselves, like John just said. We have to learn to stop being so hateful, so negative, so violent. Because surely an intelligent race would not be like us, a super hyper intelligent race. Why destroy yourselves? And I mean, hell, I told my wife, I said, I wouldn't come down here either. I mean, we're evil, we're mean.
Nah, nah.
There
What
are
you see
some
is
good.
what you see are the outliers. The thing about the internet and anything like it is it allows people who make noise to have the platform. Reasonable people don't make noise usually. So reasonable people stay quiet. All the noise that I see on the internet is caused by some very, very few, very sick people. And those people, some of them are going to wake up and see how life really is. And that's going to be a revelation for them. And I hope it happens soon for them because they will begin living better lives when they realize that someone else is controlling their emotions.
Yes. Hey, I like that sentiment. Now, I do want to take this time to explain to my viewers that this show is specifically meant for one reason: to explain stories from regular people like John, like AJ, like David. This is not a show to fact check. I'm not going to sit here and, cross examine John or AJ. My platform is strictly for them to tell their story, okay? So I want y'all to know that because I had some comments asking me to vet these people, and I'm not going to vet regular Joes. There's no sense in it. There's no sense. First off, how am I going to do it? Am I going to go to their Facebook?
Good luck. I don't have that.
See? How would I even get information from him without asking him directly?
I have very little online presence.
Yep. So
On purpose.
this show is for you to decide, viewer. If you want to believe John, if you want to believe AJ, if you want to believe David, that's up for you to decide. There is always a shred of truth in each and every lie.
Oh, yeah.
You got to remember that. Not that you're lying, John. I hope you understand that.
Anyone who is willing to go there in their head can be good at anything, including stuff like lying or whatever. I find it distasteful.
I agree. And believe it or not, I kind of told my wife sort of the same thing. I was like, I want to do YouTube as a job. I want to do it so badly. And I will never do it until I do it, until I try. And that's what this is.
Now, this is just me from what I've seen on YouTube, especially, and in the UFO community, especially. There are those who wish to make money off of people. There's nothing wrong with that, but there are those who pervert whatever it is they're trying to do for money. And that's sad, but that happens. And anyone who puts in the work, I deserve to be paid. Anyone who writes a book, put in hours and hours and hours of research, and don't steal their damn stuff, man. Go buy it. They deserve it.
Agreed.
They put the time in for that.
They worked for it.
They work for it, yeah. And what I see on YouTube lately is a lot of people like you, my friend, who are popping up and talking and having a voice, and just to do it. And it's a good thing. It's a real good thing for the community to for that to come out,
Thank you,
because
brother.
we don't need a voice. We don't need to pay someone to be our voice. We need to have our own voice.
Yes, sir. You know what my slogan is for the show?
Yeah.
Give a voice to the voiceless. That has always been my slogan, and that's what I put in every one of my advertisements on Reddit or wherever I put it. That's my goal. You told me you were a Marine. Everyone, he said that he worked on a CH-53 motor. He was a
Yeah.
mechanic. That is a quote-unquote Pavlo helicopter, if you've ever played Modern Warfare. What's the technical name for it? Sea
It's a
Stallion?
It's a CH-53. It's a Sea Stallion. I worked on the E model, the letter E, I believe, if memory serves. It's been a long time, but it was a turboshaft engine. That particular model had three of them went into one gearbox. Pretty amazing machinery. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I grew up reading science fiction. I mean, since this is an open conversation and it's going to be broadcast on YouTube, and I'm doing it semi-anonymously. I want to touch on something that is shunned by the community by some people
You have the
and
floor.
taken way too far by others, and that is the metaphysical aspect of this phenomena. And people run away from that, or they get caught up in shit that's not real.
Could you
And
elaborate on that a little bit? Metaphysical.
when I talk about metaphysical basically means anything I cannot touch. So you have physical and meta, meaning more than physical. So anything that metaphysical generally means something that people think about a lot, you know. So it would be more concepts as opposed to actual things that you could do with your hands. So the community kind of stays away from the metaphysical. Um, I have experienced a UFO. That's a fact. My father was with me. He's still alive. He'll tell you it's a fact too. That was real. I believe my memory was with, and I believe that was real. And I believe that there's been something about my life that's been different all my life. And I also feel that is real.
Before or
Um,
after the experience? All your life? What do you mean?
well, that's the thing. I'm gonna say something that's gonna fuckle up, and those who will understand it will, and those who won't. Most human beings think linear time. I don't.
I love that.
The thing about time is what this whole thing I think is all about. Is time. And human beings have a sensitivity to time that they don't realize. Everything we do is about time. Our travel is faster and therefore increases the amount of time we can spend at our destination. Just the wheel and the advent of the railroad really accelerated civilization. And people talk about acceleration of civilization like it's something that just happens magically. It is civilization accelerates because there is less friction. Friction is what prevents us from traveling quickly, and there's all kinds of frictions, including mental friction, where things can stop us from moving.
That's
It's
very interesting.
and this is something. It's all of these things scare people because for me to say, "Hey, there's something different about me. It's been different about me all my life." And by the way, I think I may have contacted alien other for real. People are going to be like, oh shit, he's one of those nut jobs, the alien people, mantis people, one of those Greer followers, blah, 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 that kind of stuff.
Right, right.
And the thing about someone who has a real experience and who is feeling something that happens, um, it's real to me. And it also brings up fears for a human being about being insane, because people start thinking, well, maybe I'm crazy because I'm feeling these things, or I think something contacted me, or maybe I saw something I can't explain, or whatever it is. I've actually I've been around crazy people. I've helped put two people away who lost touch with reality. I helped put them in places where they could be helped. So I know what that's like. I also know people who have experienced schizophrenia, and I know what that's like. So the things that this could be, it is not. And it's a very weird thing to have go on, for someone to actually admit to have. That's why I'm kind of glad this is anonymous, because once you put that out there, then you
Sorry.
start getting people start talking about whoever the next, prophet is and what they're saying things should be.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't believe them.
I agree with
Whatever
that.
whatever their name is, whoever they are, whatever they claim to speak for, whether it's a mantis person or a blah blah blah, whatever the thing is, they're man. There's people who are so far down that rabbit hole that they can't even see real stuff going on around them.
Can
You
I
know?
tell you something? And this is also for the viewers. If you've made it this far, here's a little treat for you. Can I tell you what started me on this path?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
So I'm. This is the first time I've said this, and I'm still uncomfortable saying it. So bear with me.
Well, you are not anonymous, so you're
Exactly.
going to be a lot more uncomfortable.
Okay, so my experience, I've always believed in UFOs, UAPs, aliens, because I mean, my God, the Fermi paradox. You can't argue with statistics like that. I've always believed in it. I've had my experiences, blah blah blah. Well, one night recently, I was laying down in my bed, and I was listening to a podcast about UAPs, and I had my eyes closed, and I had this feeling. It was euphoric come over me, and like it felt like my whole body, like part of it felt like someone grabbed my chest and pulled me up a little bit. I wasn't hovering or nothing like that,
Right.
but it felt euphoric. And
Mm-hmm.
I kind of told you this story, but I didn't tell you this part. This is the part
Mm-hmm.
that's weird. So
Okay.
I closed my eyes, and you've seen a kaleidoscope, right?
Yes.
So imagine a rectangular shape inside a kaleidoscope, and then behind that is a diamond above it, a diamond below it, and the rectangular shape is rotating in place, and the diamond is just sticking there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing was said to me, not a word, but a feeling came over me while I was
Okay.
witnessing that in my head. And to this day, I don't understand how or why, but guys, I used to be not the greatest person in the world. I wasn't a terrible father. I wasn't horrible, but I wasn't the father I had the potential to be. I wasn't the husband I had the potential to be. And this experience, when I woke up, I was changed. I felt love. I felt care. I felt feelings. My whole perception of reality changed. And the
Mm-hmm.
first thing I did was walk up to my wife and say, "Are you real?" Because my reality was fractured. I didn't know if she was real or not.
Okay.
And she was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "I don't know if this couch is real. I don't know where I am. I don't know what's going on." But slowly and surely, I picked those pieces up and put them back together. And I'm still picking up pieces to this day. But it has built me into who I am today. It's made me pursue YouTube. It's made me to be a better father because I care about my daughter and my son way more. I take care of my wife more than I could possibly do. I do everything I can. I mean, I'll be honest with y'all. I used to, like, my son missed the bus this morning. And the old me would have said, "Yeah, you can go take him to school, whatever," to my wife. But my wife asked me to take him, and I had no qualms about it. The old me would have bitched and complained. That's
Yeah.
huge for me. So this experience is real, guys. It's real.
I've been in contact with something else. Um, I've also been in contact with the gods, what I call the gods. Um, I've been learning a lot, like you. Um, I believe in the potential of the human mind, and I believe that we're all connected. I believe that it is not just my intelligence, it is the intelligence of all of us that anyone can tap into if they want to.
Consciousness.
It's called shared consciousness. And there's been a lot of work going on with University of California. Their comparative anthropology. There's studies going on that are looking at they're actually growing brain cells of different human species so they could differentiate, actually see, do experiments to see what is the difference in the thought patterns between us and, say, Neanderthals. There's some very cutting edge stuff going on right now that has been put up by some very smart people about the history of us and what makes a human being a human. And it's very, very interesting. And it's also a spiritual journey in a sense, because you look at the ancestors of us, you know, and I think they're real. They're as real as me and you. And I think that I can contact my dead mother's presence by feeling her love. And I think that when you talked about emotion is one of the first, most basic ways of communicating. Communication of emotion doesn't happen through words. It does not happen through language. Anything, if you have a dog, you know when your dog's sad, you know when he's happy. If you have a cat, you know when they're content or not. That's communication.
And
We keep looking for communication all out there. We think some magical, mystical thing is going to come and communicate with us. But our communication goes on all the time, all around us, to everything. When you drive your car and the birds move out of the way, that's communicating.
you can tell, but you don't know how you can tell, but you can tell when your dog's sad or when your dog's happy. I love that.
Well, I'll take this to another level. You can probably tell without thinking about it whether your children are happy or not, without thinking about it. That's the thing. When you think about that kind of thing, it creates noise, and that signal gets blocked.
You question and whatnot.
Yeah, and at another level, when my father was hit by a mortar barrage in Korea, God put a white light around him and protected him. And I believe that happened because it had to happen. You see, he's still carrying Chinese shrapnel in his body today.
Oh, wow.
He cannot go through an MRI machine because the electromagnetics would pull him apart from the inside. He lost his right eye. Both eardrums were punctured, and he should not be able to hear or see. He can see, and he can hear, and he's lived his life.
So you said God. When you say God, do you mean the Christian God, Hindu? What do you mean when you say God?
I'm not a Christian, man. Something that's in our culture, mine and my host culture, the redneck culture, not being a Christian is very, very
sacrilegious.
Sacrilegious. It's something you don't admit to.
Yes, and I feel that.
If you're part of this culture. So that's why I was hesitant to say that. It's not that I'd mind saying it at all. I'll tell you all about my religion or whatever if you ask. Don't mind talking about it. I'll talk about anything. I have no fear.
Can I tell you something crazy?
Sure.
My wife is a preacher's daughter, and me and my wife are opposite when it comes to religion, but we get along so well, and I listen to what she believes, and she listens to what I believe, and at the end of the day, we have our own opinions. if you are of opposite beliefs, don't fight, is what I'm saying. Like, peacefully come together and just talk about it, which is what me and my wife do. My wife had an experience herself, and I was there, and we both had it, and it freaked her out. But she believes. Is she still a Christian? Hell yes. Does she believe in God? Hell yes. Do I? I don't know. But we're married and we're happy. Religion is a very tough topic, I'll be honest with you.
What we're coming down to is human perception. I believe, now this is what I've been given to believe by something other than me. I believe that all humans see things through a lens. In other words, we have our own perception of the world.
Yes, paradigms. I agree.
Well, we all see through a human lens. Emotion, experience, intelligence, imagination, and creativity are the 5 lenses of human. And you can look at anything through any one of those lenses, and you can allow any of those lenses to see within or without in any direction. And a human can say to himself, I need to see this emotionally, and look at it through the lens of emotion. And you can see it intellectually and look at it through the lens of intelligence. You can look at it through the lens of creativity, and you can look at it through the lens of experience. So
I like that.
That's a tool I was given, and it's one that I've used, and it helps me sometimes when I've visualized things. How am I going to see this thing? If I look at it only through the lens of emotion, then I cannot see through the other lenses. If I look at it only through the lens of experience, well, I have only that I can draw on. If I look at it only through the lens of intelligence, then I ignore the spiritual.
I like that. I like the way you put that. I do. You are a very interesting guest. I will say that. If nothing else, you are absolutely interesting. Now, I do want to go ahead and do some closing statements. So, is there anything you want to say to the audience before we close up?
To your audience, directly to you, from me, from John. Do not fear. It's like a movie that's just come out recently. There's a saying about fear being the mind killer, the little death. It's a Bene Gesserit saying. It's coming out it's from a novel called Dune, written by a guy named Frank Herbert. And the movie's come out recently. Like I said, I read science fiction. I've read voraciously. I read about 500 words a minute for pleasure, and I read a lot, or used to read a lot. So I've got thousands of science fiction books in there. So I've got a lot of stuff to pull on.
You're well versed.
Eh.
That's what that means. You are. I will say this. There's a philosopher. I think he was a German philosopher. Can't remember his name. But no. He was Russian. And one of the things he said was, if you stare into the abyss, eventually the abyss will stare back. And that abyss only has power if you allow it. Like John was saying, if you give that abyss, which is fear, power, then it will control you and it will stare back.
Well, that's the thing, and I don't know how I lost it. The fear is gone.
Maybe it just comes with it. Maybe you just grow into it.
I don't know. I think it's situational.
You think so?
Yeah, pretty much situational. It's going to have to be, something like that.
All right. Well, let's say this. I want you to come back on my show. Would you be interested?
Brother, I will have a conversation with anyone. I scare people off with my willingness to talk.
We'll leave this on a cliffhanger, kind of like we did with AJ, and I promise I'm going to pick that back up. But yes, there will be another interview with John, as long as he's willing, which he sounds to be willing, and I'm willing. So let's pick this story up on the next interview, guys.
It works fine with me. Y'all be good. And you know what? The gods love you, whether you know it or not.
Yes, sir. And, thank you, John, for showing up, and it was a wonderful interview. And like I always say, guys, y'all have a good one.